Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Guardians of the CLE podcast, a special holiday version this week. I am your host, Melanie Kirby. With me here, as always, is my wonderful co-pilot, James Ellifritz. James, you all set for Christmas?
No, 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 not
Simply
yet.
no.
Close, very close. Do not want to wait till the very last minute. But
Especially
no,
with that
I'm
weather
getting there. How
forecast.
about? Yeah, exactly. How about you?
We're getting there. We're
Hmm.
getting there. I'd say for the most part, it's funny. I tried to do a little shopping on Black Friday this year. I got my fiance a pair of shoes and I never looked at them. I just put them in my trunk so she didn't see them. And I go to wrap it last weekend. Total wrong shoes, wrong size. It was a whole hassle with Famous Footwear. So I tried to be proactive and it still kind of bit me in the butt and I had to correct it, but we're good. We're good. Other than that, I want to wish all our listeners a happy holidays. Um, I hope everybody's staying safe and healthy out there, getting all your errands done before this crazy weather forecast if you're in the Cleveland and really most of the Midwest, Northeast this weekend. But I also wanted to thank all the listeners. We're ending 2022 as the sixth ranked Guardians podcast out there. We've been around a little over a year. This is our 57th episode. So just huge thank you to everybody who takes the time to listen, subscribe, and share our posts. We are super thankful for that. And it's going to be an incredible 2023. We have a lot of exciting guests coming up to open up 2023. And we're just going to roll into what should be a really fun Guardian season this year.
Yeah, and I'm really excited. I'm thankful to be a part of this. I feel like the deadline addition to this podcast. Hopefully,
Huge
I've
pickup.
hopefully I've made our team better, and I know myself, looking to improve for 2023. As far as making this show that much more engaging and entertaining for our Cleveland Guardian fans out there, because, like you said, it is exciting to start thinking about 2023 season and how well we're going to play, considering where we left off.
Yeah, and speaking of 2023, I think you got some news and notes just coming out today from Zach Meisel.
Yeah, so
Former guest, if you haven't listened.
former
After this,
guest, adoptive son from the Athletic, Zach Meisel.
go back and listen
Uh,
to that episode after this one.
so he tweeted out that our Guardians coaching staff is now complete. So the bullpen coach that was hired is Rigo Beltran. He spent the last 4 years as our AAA pitching coach. Now, you're probably wondering, who is he replacing? As much as we talk about our coaching staff, I'm going to put you on the spot now. Who is he replacing? Who, and especially listeners out there right now, who knows who the bullpen
I
coach
think I
was
know the
last year?
answer only because I sat out by the bullpen in Kansas City, but is it Brian Sweeney?
That is true. That is correct. Replacing Brian Sweeney, who now
Ding, 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 ding,
is
ding.
Kansas City's pitching coach. So what happened while you were out there?
Wow, he never left. Now I'm trying to go back. Were there any conversations? What was going on
Exactly.
out there
Yeah,
at
you
good
should
old
have had the
South
lowdown
Tennessee?
scoop on that.
Wow, it's a Kansas City type of field today.
And then we also added the last person on the coaching staff, the run production coordinator, and Zach put sounds fancy, and that's exactly what it does. It sounds very fancy.
We can
Jason
definitely
Esposito.
have used that in the postseason.
Yes. So Jason Esposito spent the last 2 years as our AAA hitting coach, but now he's the
Okay.
run production coordinator. He's going to help Ahmed Rosario and all his singles bring home lots of RBIs next year.
They're gonna have a guy sneak out of the dugout to third base every time Ahmed's up just to make sure he can get that guy in.
Yep, and he's replacing Justin Toole, who's now the Seattle director of player development.
You know he's good if Seattle picked him up. That's a well-run organization over there.
Yes.
And you also know the trade season is slow when Seattle's not making crazy moves. I know they acquired Teoscar Hernandez, but I really thought December was going to be a big month for trades. But I don't know, James. I kind of think with the whole balance schedule and some of the rule changes, I think there's a lot more teams out there who think they can be competitive.
Yeah, and that's what I was reading too. That's why, based on uh, what I saw with Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Oakland are the teams that are just really in the rebuild. And I think you mentioned one other team that has made a lot of moves recently and kind of tore down the Washington Nationals. So those bottom four. And when you start thinking about those teams, if you remember, we talked about going into the beginning of the postseason that as far as our win totals against winning teams, I believe we were below all four of them last year. So that's a really big challenge for us next season, is to be able to beat winning teams and beat ones and twos, starting pitchers, the one and the twos. So that's something we definitely got to improve on, regardless of our youth, regardless of our expectations.
Yeah, 100%. And just kind of sliding into uh talk about a couple guys we will not be trading and a couple I may like to try and trade is we are bringing back our off-season player updates segment. I wish we had some fancy music for this segment because this was a big hit
Dun,
during the
dun,
lockout when we were
dun.
all begging for baseball. So I had to resort to stalking our team on Instagram and hoping for some gems to get the listeners through another torturous week of no baseball news. So it is a normal off season, but I think it's good to have off season player updates because 2022 was such a fun year, and we are just right about 100 days until the Major League Baseball season kicks off. Super excited about that. It cannot get here soon enough. And Stephen Kwan, he was actually one of the guys who made the MLB Twitter graphic counting down the 100 days till the season. And Stephen Kwan was also on his Instagram. He is ending 22 with a wonderful vacation with his girlfriend to end what he calls an unforgettable 2022. Obviously made his major league debut, found a lot of success, won a gold glove, came in third in rookie of the year voting. He's exploring the world and super excited for Stephen Kwan. A little bit more of paradise. Guardians Perspective shared the link on their Twitter and Instagram, but Richie Palacios and Will Benson, a couple of those guys seeking time in the major league outfield, participated in the Don't Blink Home Run Derby in the Bahamas Saturday. So these guys are exploring the nice weather. And to top it off, Zach Plesac and Miles Straw linked up in Florida in Christmas pajamas and Santa costumes. So super random, but they're kicking it. Got the Christmas
Definitely.
spirit going on.
Yeah. So when I read that in the notes, I'm just like, are we really going to talk about these guys in their pajamas? But I guess we're going to be talking about these guys in their pajamas. Zach Plesac.
Leave it to me. And in any of these pictures that I'm talking about, they are posted on the Guardians OTCLE podcast Twitter page.
I did like the video I saw from the home run derby, though.
That was super cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, it looked like a neat idea, something we could do with Lake Erie.
There's launching balls into the ocean.
Yeah, they're right there on that, like almost like a catwalk type or boardwalk type area, and just blasting them out in the water.
Yeah, that looked so fun. The weather obviously was gorgeous too, as we're approaching freezing temperatures here in Cleveland. They're making sure they get far away from these freezing temperatures.
I don't blame them.
Living it up, enjoying their off season, and they deserve it. Another guy we had to say goodbye to, forever friend Austin Hedges signed a deal with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So the Guardians Twitter page thanked him, rightfully so, today.
Yep. Yeah, Austin signed a 1-year, $5 million contract with Pittsburgh. He's originally from the San Diego area, and he talked about in an interview Pittsburgh being like a second home to him, that his grandfather was there. He would spend time there. Used to love going to PNC Park. So for him, he said his grandfather is no longer with us, but it's something that's pretty sentimental to him. What a great addition to their clubhouse. Um, Team batting average, not so much, but everything else, they're going to love Austin Hedges being a part of that team, with also Carlos Santana, two former Indians/Guardians that will help Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh fans want to come out to the ballpark and get to know these guys.
And Roberto Perez was actually their catcher last year before he was
That's
injured
right.
and missed the rest of the year. But they just love getting the guys we let go.
Is Victor Martinez coming out of retirement to play first base for them?
They might start working him out at third base. I think Cabral Hayes is there actually, but the joke remains. I'm sure they'd find a place for him. Moving on to 2023, the Guardian Zips projections were just released. And speaking of Christmas, this is like a Christmas gift to many fans. This is a Fangraphs tool that was founded. I can't pronounce his last name. I'm not going to butcher it, but he's over there at Fangraphs, and it basically uses like a growth and decline based on that particular player type to find trends. And then those trends are then combined with past performances of that player to determine projections. So they're down on a few guys of ours, and that's really because they factor in regression, right? Like we could sit here and we could daydream that none of our rookies who debuted last year are going to regress in any way in 2023. And it's just not really realistic. There's going to be some sort of regression from some, if not all of them. So they're a little bit down on Quan, more so because he doesn't hit the ball hard. But they did go on to say, like, he has had success, right? Not hitting the ball hard. It's not just like out of nowhere he didn't hit the ball hard last year. They're still projecting him at 274, 24 doubles, 6 triples, even up to 7 homers, 53 RBIs and 14 steals. So it's starting with Stephen Kwan, James. I mean, I'll take that out of our leadoff spot.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. We would have taken that last year, not knowing what he was going to be able to produce for us, and going so far above that bar to be a rookie of the year candidate. That was great. What I'm wondering with all these projections, whether or not how do you factor the shift going away when they come up with these numbers? I don't. Is it possible to even do that? Any idea?
They didn't from what I'm seeing, they didn't factor it in too much. I'm actually gonna pull up a guy like Josh Naylor, right? Because Josh Naylor is a guy that I can think of off the top of my head that would just beat the ball into the shift, right? All those balls he'd roll over to second base.
Right.
So they have Josh Naylor at a 258 batting average, a 111 OPS plus, 276 BABIP, only a 1.5 WAR. But then they got him at 29 doubles, 19 homers, and 73 RBIs. So I'm thinking like those doubles, maybe he's going to get some of those balls through the hole on the right. Let me see. Hits in general is 120. So I'm guessing a lot of those are going to be singles. So I think they are projecting that he's going to get some of those balls through the hole on the right side.
And how can it not? I mean, the reason behind the shift had to be to help offense in the game, right? Because offense puts butts in seats.
Absolutely.
So how can yes, we're going to look at some decrease with some guys, but there's going to be some difference with that shift. It has 100%. To make it.
Look at a guy like Max Kepler even. He's a guy other than Josh Naylor who I can think of, maybe even Joey Gallo. These are guys who I can think of off the top of my head that just roll over the baseball. And these are guys that have value. And we saw Joey Gallo get that free agent deal. Max Kepler is a prime trade candidate now because I think teams are projecting they're going to get those balls through the hole now, right? Without that second baseman playing in right field.
Yep.
And that's what all these rule changes have really been designed to do this offseason, is to improve pace of play and to get fans more excited about the game. The common fan loves good offense more than good pitching. As much as us baseball nerds love a good shutout. And the 17, 18 innings Seattle Houston playoff game, the 15 inning Cleveland Tampa Bay scoreless game. Fans don't love that, right? They want to see home runs. They want to see guys chugging along the bases, sliding into home plate. And I get it. And, the pickoff rules are really going to be interesting too. And I really do think that's why they ended up going for a guy. Once they missed out on Sean Murphy, I think they immediately pivoted to Mike Zunino and didn't really give the Toronto catchers the attention we thought they would because of defense, right? When you look at these rule changes and a pitcher can only throw over, they're limiting that amount of times the pitcher can go to first base. You're becoming a lot more dependent on the pop time of your catcher. And like Alejandro Kirk and that big ass body, how fast is he popping up, right? Like, he's not known for his defense. He made the all-star team because he can hit the baseball. Whereas a guy like Mike Zunino, yeah, he's got pop in his bat, but you really signed him for his defense, right? Like, he's elite pop time. He's known for his defense. It's going to be big with these rule changes coming.
I wonder if there is a site out there that has how many outs per team were benefited by the shift. Like you said, the second baseman out in right field, short right field, making a play, shortstop on the other side of the base, things like that. I would be really curious to know how many hits that equates to per team.
That is interesting.
Because they had to have did it. They had to have did it. There's why else would you have made that change other than to create offense and, like I said, create more 3-run homers instead of solo shots, because you got more guys on base. ERA should go up.
Yeah.
So
I was really interested to see how they would project Oscar Gonzalez too, because I've been talking with some people on Twitter about Oscar Gonzalez, and I love Oscar Gonzalez, but he is like a unicorn. His hitting tool, like, there's not really an offensive profile like him. And his one downside of this offensive profile is he swings at everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He hasn't learned to lay off that low and away pitch yet. Those balls outside the zone. And what I fear in 2023 is that he's not going to see strikes. If pitchers know that he's going to chase those pitches low and away, why are they going to throw him a strike?
Well, there's one thing that I think he has going for him, that if they do start doing that and he's seeing less balls in the strike zone, some of the hits he had last year at balls, meaning it would have been a ball, it reminds me of Vlad Guerrero Sr. Mm-hmm. Guerrero Jr.'s dad, that guy could hit some balls right off home plate looking. I mean, I'm talking low pitches that's like, what's he swinging at? And next thing you know, it's leaving the yard. He has that kind of, there where we've watched other players in the past, like, man, don't swing at that. Remember towards the end of the year and into the playoffs, looked like Jimenez started to, expand his strike zone a little more when he was struggling, and it just wasn't hitting the ball. Oscar's somebody that just reminds me of somebody. We're going to see some just bad pitch, nice hits out of him throughout his career. I don't know that he's going to adjust that and be like a Carlos Santana that gets a lot of walks or anything like that.
It's kind of the opposite of Miles Straw. So like Miles Straw is a guy who has great pitch recognition skills. He doesn't really chase pitches outside the zone. And he was taking his walks. But then we saw as the season went on, his walk rate declined each month. And that happened because pitchers were seeing that when they do throw him something in the zone, he's not hitting it hard. He's maybe hitting it for a single, but we saw a lot of weak pop-ups and weak ground balls for Miles because of, his low exit velocity. So his challenge is going to be to create that harder contact, because until he proves that he can get hits with those balls in the zone, they're going to throw him in the zone. Why are they going to throw him balls when they know there's not going to be any damage from them throwing him a pitch in the zone?
Exactly.
So
It's here's my best stuff. Go ahead and hit it.
Exactly. What are you going to do with my best stuff?
Right.
And that's with Oscar. They're not going to throw him a pitch in the zone because they know what he's going to do with their best stuff. He's going to hit at 450 feet. Right? And trust me, I'm sure he knows it just as much as any of us do. And I'm sure that's what he's working on this offseason is, improving his plate discipline just a little bit. But you're right. There's always going to be that in his profile. He's never had a crazy high walk rate. His K rate is what it is. He's going to catch up to some of them, and some of them he's not. You just kind of learn to live with it. But Zips actually wasn't too down on him. They have him at a 263 average, 293 OBP, and a 438 slugging, which isn't bad, with 21 homers, 72 RBIs, and 26 doubles. Like, I'll take that all day, especially if he's sliding down to 5 or 6.
Yeah. I mean, those numbers still sound light to me, the 26 doubles.
I think he could be closer to 40.
I think he exceeds 26 doubles easy.
Yeah. I could see that. That I did feel the doubles were a little low, but 21 home runs, like, that's good. And that's important because Zips actually forecasts a pretty substantial fall off for Josh Bell. And they're saying it's because he did have a drop in exit velocity last year that he hasn't seen in past seasons. So they're seeing that as a trend. As he gets older, is he losing some of the pop in his bat? Which would just absolutely suck if these projections are true, because he's your 16.5 million, basically 1-year deal guy. And if these numbers come true, they have him at a 249 average, a 343 OBP, and a 399 slugging, 16 homers, 67 RBIs. If those are the numbers he puts up, he's going to be back for that second year.
I would say that, here's one way to look at it. His wife's from Ohio, right?
Yeah. Poland.
Yeah. So not the country, everybody. Poland, Ohio.
Poland.
So happy wife, happy life. And so I say his numbers go up just for just that reason.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we picked him up to be the cleanup hitter behind Jose. So you definitely want to see him with more than 1667. Yeah. 16 homers, 67 ribbies. So I sure hope he does better than that. Another interesting on the outfield is George Valera. They have him at 18 homers and 69 RBIs, which is amazing. And do you know they do this? They have player comps on there. They give you like 3 different guys who could kind of comp to this player. He's got Aaron Judge in his comps.
Mm-hmm.
People project to me they're very, very low end or high end. They're really high on him, like Aaron Judge, which for me and George Valera this season, because I've been honest, I love George Valera, but I was willing to trade him in the right deal this offseason, because I'm seeing a lot more people who cover the minors who know a lot more than I do, and I love prospects, that are concerned about his ability to hit those pitches up in the strike zone. They're kind of just blowing him past him. So that could be a concern. But he's still young. Obviously, he's still in AAA. He's going to be fine, I think. But to me, he was tradable. But if he could come up and give you 1869, kind of like platooning with Oscar Gonzalez, who's going to give you 21 and 72. For me, these projections kind of tell me Miles Straw's on a short leash. And here's why. I think you give Miles Straw till like mid-May. That's kind of when Tito likes to switch around the lineup a little bit. I'm gonna slide Will Brennan into center.
Mm-hmm.
And if that doesn't work, bring George Valera up and let him and Oscar, split some time. You could always move Quan over into center. It gives you more flexibility. And then you have that great late inning defensive pinch running in Miles Straw.
And that's the thing. If Oscar does split some time on that, which he will some, that is gonna, that 26 doubles we talked about still sounds low, but to say that Valera is gonna out homer and out RBI Josh Bell, that's impressive.
Yeah. It's
And
crazy. That
that could
shocked
be
me
our
too.
surprise of 2023.
Yeah. So we'll have to see how that first base situation plays itself up. But just a couple notes just to wrap up projections. They got Jose the GOAT at 272, 353 OBP, 516 slugging with 30 homers, 108 RBIs, 20 steals, and a 5.6 WAR. That even seems a little light to me. I think if he's fully healthy the whole season, he's going to do better than this. I mean, he put up 120 something RBIs last year, and he had an injured thumb for 3+ months of the season. So I'm not worried about that. And then on the infield, out of Arias and Freeman, they're low on Arias, and they really like Tyler Freeman. So that could be interesting to see how that plays out. And Zips thinks Emmanuel Clase can be one of the greatest pitchers of all time. To be honest with you, James Karinchak, Sam Henches also got high projections out of the bullpen, but otherwise the pitching projections were underwhelming. Not too surprising with Plesac and Savali still in our rotation. So let's hope we got some time. Let's hope they upgrade that starting rotation just a little bit.
Yeah, and I did see something on MLB Network about, we even had this conversation, I believe, about Corey Kluber, whether or not he could come in and just, fill that role as a veteran starter, get us some innings. But the decrease in velocity each year is, I think, really been his, I don't want to say downfall, but decline, if you will, as he's aged. We saw a lot of great innings out of him as a Cleveland Indian, but there's definitely some concern there on that, his velocity just continuing to drop as he ages, and that's not abnormal. But we'll see what the team wants to do, if it's him, if it's somebody else. But yeah. I agree. Maybe a top of the line starter if we do trade some prospects and aim higher. Then let's see what happens.
You're leading us right into our final segment. We're going to do our Guardians Christmas list. James, why don't you start us off? You kind of gave us a little teaser there. With Christmas right around the corner, what would you love to see from the Guardians, either in this offseason or in the upcoming season in 2023? What do you have on your wish list to Santa, Chris Antonetti?
Well, I have to go with, your request as well. We're both on the same page on this. Trading Zach Plesac. I think as strong as a clubhouse as we have, from coaching staff to our players, the chemistry that we have, and for him to still struggle is really disappointing. Has the run support not been there for him? Sure. But that's not an excuse for some of the behavior that he's had and what it's caused for him for injury to not be on the mound. So if we trade Zach, it's probably good for him, good for the ball club, even though his ERA can, he has a decent ERA most of the time. But yeah, I could definitely see
no run support either.
Yeah, it's just it's not there. Support. Yeah.
I'm 100% with you there.
And then number 2 on your list, you go ahead with your guy, Mr. Kraft Singles.
I would love to. We have Gabriel Arias, Tyler Freeman, Brian Rocchio, Andres Jimenez. We have all these guys who can play the middle infield who are pretty much ready right now. And with the shortstop market, free agency wise, pretty much settled. I think now's the time you want to pick up that phone. I mean, there was an article that teams are calling the Orioles about Jorge Mateo trying to acquire him. The teams who missed out on Swanson and Correa and Bogarts. You can't tell me Ahmed Rosario isn't better than Jorge Mateo. But I think the front office is struggling with what you could get in return. You know, there was a lot of talk that it was low level prospects not on the 40 man at the deadline last year. I'm really only willing to make this deal if you can either expand the deal or find a way to get major league starting pitching in return. I think he'd be a good centerpiece to a deal. Maybe even trade him and Plesac in the same deal. They're going to have to get creative with something because you don't want to contradict your win now mode. Right. But I do understand wanting Gabriel Arias to play every day. So
would you say that trading Rosario has to happen before spring training? And I'm just saying from chemistry, I'm talking about him and Jose being tight.
I
Don't
would
you
say
believe
so.
it has to happen before spring training?
Because I think if they wait till the deadline, they're going to run into the same problem they had last year where, oh, shoot, we're contending. We don't want to send the wrong message to the ball club and to the fans trading our starting shortstop. Where look what the Astros did. They let Carlos Correa walk in free agency and everyone thought they were nuts, but they knew they had what's his name? World Series MVP. Jeremy Pena. They knew Jeremy Pena was ready to step right in. And I'm not guaranteeing Gabriel Arias is Jeremy Pena or Brian Rocchio for that matter. But if you're confident in your scouting, you have to pick a guy and you have to roll with him. Because stocking up the rest of those guys, like I mentioned last week, they're just losing value. Once they come to the majors, I know they're still young, but once you have them rotting away on the bench in the major leagues, you can't tell me that doesn't lower their trade value. You got to strike while the iron's hot. Why delay the inevitable? Ahmed Rosario was not getting extended, and it's very rare they let a guy walk for nothing unless they extend the qualifying offer to him and want the draft pick back when he signs elsewhere. So again, it was the most interesting piece of the offseason and it still stands for me. But into my next point, you have to package these prospects. I understand wanting to wait till the deadline to kind of see what's out there. More teams are going to be out of contention and are going to be willing to tango on a trade. But you have enough depth where you can make multiple trades. I do think it's important they get another starting pitcher in here and a bench bat for that matter. And I just think the trade route is the most likely route for this organization, knowing they kind of spent that free agency money with Bell and Zunino.
You know, I would say that you're talking about for my Christmas list. The one thing be nice to do is go to Guards Fest, January 21st.
Oh, I bought my tickets.
You already bought them?
I'm taking my fiance and stepson. Yeah.
Nice. I want to get up there. I want to be there. If there's anybody that's out there listening, we'd love to hear if you're going to be there. Maybe get a chance to interact with you.
Yeah.
That would be a great time. But I know I ran into somebody literally at the grocery store because I had my Guardians hoodie on and where they were talking about the team and they brought up Guards Fest. And I said, hey, yeah, that's something to definitely check out. I told him about our podcast. Hopefully he's listening now. And but yeah, it'd be a great chance to maybe interact with a few people that are out there listening.
That would be super fun. That's coming up mid-January and that can't come soon enough. Hopefully that will hold us over until the end of February when pitchers and catchers report. But that is going to do it for this week's episode, this holiday week edition of the Guardians of the CLE podcast. I want to thank you all once again for listening, subscribing, sharing. Make sure you head over to believelandmediallc.com. Check out all our podcasts and written content. We got you covered at all the professional level, college level, and high school sports. So everybody just stay safe, stay healthy, have a wonderful holiday season, and we will be back with you next week to bring in the new year. James, you got anything?
Everybody have an awesome holiday. Thank you to all of our sponsors, Carrie's Weight and Wellness, SeatGeek, Marlou Shoes, everybody that supported us this year. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, everybody. We'll see you next week.